1978 and went on to win 8 more crowns. King Miko won in 1982, 85, 91, 94, 1997, 99, 2001, and 2004. Some of his most popular songs are Nation Building, Neve is Nice, Neve is Still Nice, Darkest Hour, My Country, In Times Like These, and the Love We Festival, a collab with Delhi of Core Band. Tonight, the Ministry of Culture is pleased to recognize King Miko for his service in the area of music.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know when last King Miko really sang, but we're going to have the honor, the privilege tonight to have him sing. And he's going to sing a verse of Neve is Nice. And to nice it up, we're going to have his daughter, Lady Destiny, who's going to sing the second verse. So could we give it up now as we welcome King Miko, MBE, on stage?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good night. I think I'll let my daughter have the honor of doing the first verse. She's the younger one. My voice is not that good, so I'll try to do the second verse. Wherever you go to rock the whole Caribbean, my little island name is mentioned as a land of peace and stability. and I go join that nation. When the mother islands, reveling culture, we don't be no good, we don't be empty. Even when we have election, we abstain from confusion, peace, with the electricity. And when the police come from a nation, and they always compliment we, and the people so free and so friendly, in our land of natural beauty. Sing with me, oh, bless our country, bless our native land. Get it, get it. The courage to change the things we can. To be progressing now. We are in the land of that's the opinion of the expert. Oh, yeah. Leave it nice, leave it nice, leave it nice, leave it nice, leave it nice.
Good afternoon and welcome to Working for You. I am Les Roy Williams. We do apologize for the late start. Today we are going to be discussing independence, our 37th anniversary of independence, which is celebrated under the theme Resilience, Innovation and Security for Independence 2020. And we'll hear a little bit more about that. Of course, we are in the midst of a pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, and so the independence calendar of activities had to be scaled back somewhat. However, independence is such an important event on our annual calendar that we must celebrate it. Extremely important independence, about our freedom and about, who we are as a people, an independent people. Today I have on the panel persons who will discuss the independence calendar of activities and what they are doing and how they are contributing to this year's 37th anniversary of independence. I will start with my immediate right. I have Mr. William Vincent Austin Hodge. I give him all his respect by calling all his name, and he is the chair of the Schools Independence Subcommittee. Mr. Hodge is also the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education. Mr. Hodge, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
I also have with me the very vivacious Marcia Jeffers, who is a dance specialist at the Department of Culture. Marcia, welcome.
Thank you, and good afternoon.
And of course, I have the very famous Nigel Williams, a well-known name here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And Mr. Williams, Mr. Nigel Williams, is the music specialist at the Department of Culture. Mr. Williams, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be right here.
And of course, a little bit later on, we are going to be joined by the Director of Culture himself, Mr. Troy Mills. Good. So, Mr. Hodge, we have our team, Resilience, Innovation, and Security for Independence 2020. Of course, that was won by Destiny Morris, a young student who came up with such a lovely theme. Now, what does the theme really speak to?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Before I answer the question directly, I would like to say that when I rejoined the Ministry of Education in 2016, I was somewhat not satisfied with the level of participation by our students. I felt that students needed to be more involved in the celebrations. Yes, they were involved, but we just felt that it wasn't enough of them. And the participation was somewhat limited. So on my own initiative, I set about forming this school subcommittee with the permission of the chair of the Independence Committee at the time. And we decided that we would get our principals and education officers involved at that level. And we also invited some other persons who I would say made the escape or ran from education. I'm talking about dance specialist Marcia Jeffers. You know, we sought her out because she has been a long-standing educator, very much know how to engage and involve students. I saw her in action at the Bassi High School. And still even now, even though she's working in culture, when there is a school event, athletics and so on, she is right there. And so we engaged in the committee, and we also invited her partner in crime, the music specialist from that department as well. And they work very well with the Ministry of Education. So we took over those events, and then when the national committee realized, well, look, education has a structure in place, they're doing a lot of things, they actually put this in our court, because this was originally the work of the national committee. But we were able to take on Desiree Gomes, the personnel officer in the Ministry of Education. She's part of the committee, and she actually led on this piece very well, willingly and enthusiastically. So this year, we were happy with the number of selections. We had close to 70-something entries. Some of them came late, but we were able to come up with a short list of 6 of them, and this was submitted to Cabinet. We prioritized for the 6th, and actually the one that won was our #1 priority, the one that Cabinet selected. This is not always the case. Sometimes it might be the 5th or the 6th on the short list that Cabinet would select. But this year, the one that the committee selected to be #1 was the one that Cabinet actually chose. And as you indicated, it's Resilience, Innovation, and Security for Independence 2020. And this was won by a student from the Sadler's Secondary School, Destiny Morris, from Main Street, Keon, the daughter of Terry Morris, and Aline Morris from Tabernacle. Now, what does the theme mean to us? We are in a situation that is like no other, that most of us who are alive now have never experienced. And so we laid out certain focus or certain criteria that should be reflected in the theme. And one of that had to do with strength and security and health. And so we felt that these words aptly captured that spirit. The theme was also looking for a rhyme scheme within the slogan. It had to be 6 to 8 words, and it must speak to the realities on the ground at the moment. The reality in this case being the pandemic, and we think that we as Kittitians and Divisions, we have to show our resilience in coping with the pandemic. We have to be creative, to be innovative. And that's a word that we're actually using with principals when we discuss what's happening in their schools at this time. We are saying to them that you have to be creative, you have to be innovative, because there's no prescription for any one way of doing things in dealing with the COVID. And then we are trying to keep persons safe from the pandemic and so on. So we think that this really captures, in essence, what the mood and the focus is for celebration for independence celebrations during this time of pandemic.
Mr. Hodge, we'll come back to you, but the first activity that is on the calendar of activities took place on Friday past, which is the 4th, and that was the Independence Fiesta at Carnival Village. Normally, it would be held where people can attend and gather and so on, many people. But this year, because of the pandemic, it was virtual. Mr. Williams, do you care to give us a sort of a post-mortem in terms of the Independence Fiesta and how that went?
Well, like I said, thank you very much. There's a difference this year, and everything now is being done virtual. And it was a challenge because we are accustomed of doing it like maybe at the circus or on 4th Street or on Bank Street, somewhere where everyone can easily attend. And now we had to take it to Warner Park, where the gates were closed, and just the entertainers and everything just there. But we were concerned, whether the performers will, still put that spirit out, because we recognized there was no one to cheer for them and things like that. And we were really concerned. And again, doing it virtual, there was a lot of things that we had to make sure, because when you're working like that, everything has to be on time, And so the entire operation was different to what we are accustomed to. Anyway, we were able to come up with something in spite of some artists not being able to practice during this time of the COVID, and we were still able to put a good crop together. And definitely from all reports, it was very, very successful. We are still getting comments from persons in the United States and even England speaking about it. They were so happy because they too, they have their own challenges, and they didn't expect that something like this could still happen. And we came up with it, and one of the big highlights we had on that program too was we honored 3 Calypsonians, King Miko, King Starshield, and the King Ayatollah. And we also had persons representing King Ayatollah. We had the King Craig. He sang Kaiso Terrorist, one of Ayatollah's biggest songs. And he did a splendid performance. And we had someone, this was the surprise, we had Miss Jeffers. This was a really surprise, because when we said we got to have a representative for the King Starshield, everybody expect, okay, King Starshield, that's a man. They expected a man. And out came this young, I don't know what to call her. But she was so outstanding that to the point that so many persons commented about her. She is now thinking about entering the competition for Carnival. So that's how the impact that it had. And of course, for the very first time in 5 years, we had a live performance from the King Miko, plus his daughter. So it was really good. And the minister, our chairperson for the Independence Committee, Keela, Nisbet Byron, she was there, and she presented the trophies and so on to the honorees, and I was surprised. I didn't know she could dance like that, but she was on stage even dancing. It was a magnificent night, and I think nothing is perfect, but I think we brought out the real spirit of independence.
Of course, this year we are not having a independence ceremonial parade, and many people look forward to the independence ceremonial parade, but because of the COVID-19 constraints and so on, it was thought best to cancel that. However, on the calendar of activities for independence, we notice that there are days in which people must demonstrate their patriotism in some way. And they have to wear the colors, the national colors, the colors of the flag. And so therefore, for example, on Friday the 11th, they must wear green. Green is the color that people must wear, something green. Not all green, but at least something green. And what does the green really symbolize? It really symbolizes our fertile land, our lush vegetation, and so on. That is what the green symbolizes. And then on the 14th, we are told to wear something that is yellow. Something that is yellow. And what does the yellow symbolize? It symbolizes the lovely sunshine that we have. Sunshine, of course, we are a tropical island, and so therefore the sunshine, we are a bright people. Islands in the sun, we are an island in the sun, we are a bright people, and so therefore the yellow symbolizes the sunshine. We have to shine like the sunshine. Isn't that so, Mr. Hodge?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
And then on the 18th, we're told to wear red. And of course, you know, sometimes we only look at red and yellow in terms of politics. You know, these are political colors, we say, yellow and red. Well, in this case, independence is not about the politics. Independence is about nationhood, about all of us really coming together to celebrate. And so therefore the red, what does the red mean? The red symbolizes our African, our struggles, you know, our struggle, the blood and the sweat and all of that sort of a thing. It is about our struggle as a people. And then we have, of course, the white, and we also have the black. Now, the white should be worn on the 17th. That's the day when we have that patriotic color of the white on the 17th. What does the white symbolize? Hope. And of course, we have the white is there in the stars. The white is in the stars. It's hope, and there are two stars, hope and liberty. And of course, then we have the black. And the black is really for our African heritage, where we have come from. So that was just a little lesson in terms of and on the 19th, of course, we wear all the colors. We wear all the colors. So that is something that has been put into the calendar of activities for this year's 37th anniversary. And of course, it's a brilliant idea.
If I may say something, Mr. Williams, persons have actually expressed their disappointment that the parade is not going to take place. And I have to say that our chairperson, the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, she really pushed for that. She was getting down on the Defense Force representative at the meeting and the police representative to say, we need to do this in some form. But I guess after everything was taken into consideration, the decision was made to forego it for this year. But she, the chairperson really pushed for that to happen.
It is something people really look forward to.
Yes.
Because the display,
Right.
you know, that discipline and that order and so on really reflects how our society is and really need to become more disciplined and more ordered and so on. People really look forward to that. And it's also once a year. Mm-hmm. Now tonight we have the Prime Minister's lecture series at the Royal St. Kitts Hotel. Now that too will be virtual. That is a virtual lecture series. It's the first virtual lecture series that we are having because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is at 7 p.m. and the guest speaker for the Prime Minister's lecture series is a young mechanical engineer by the name of Mark Pennyfeather, who has some managerial role in KDP. All of us in St. Kitts really should know KDP, the courier service. And that is tonight at 7 o'clock. And of course, that will be carried on ZIZ TV and radio, and it will also be carried on social media.
Now, in terms of tonight's event, Mr. Williams, that is one of the events that our secondary school students are taking part. They're coming to be part of the audience. It's a young speaker. I think he's actually in his 20s, and so not very far removed from performers by age. And so each school is expected to send a certain number of students. The buses are being arranged to pick up students and the time that they will be collected to come to the JACTA Royal St. Kitts Hotel to be part of this exercise. So we look forward to seeing our students from the secondary school as well as the CFBC College.
So the students, because of course the Prime Minister did mention the focus on young people. And the Mark Pennyfeather is a young person, and young people really bringing their talents together for nation building. And then on the 10th of September, there is Testing Thursday, that is in Nevis, and we have the big Independence Cookoff at Independence Square. And that is to be streamed as well at 10 a.m. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, the cookoff will be, of course, tomorrow, and we have about 8 persons competing for that, and it's gonna start about 9, but everything will be in place from 8 o'clock, so every person will be able to see that something is going to be happening, of course, and the competition itself will start at 9 o'clock. Now, what normally happens is that they will be given the ingredients, and of course, there will be some judges that will, and I think there will be just one ingredient that they do not know. And that is the real test, because then you will see how can you just come up with something and make it and still keep it within the Kittitian Nivision flavor, if you want to put it that. It's normally one of our big highlights for Independence, and many persons come out to witness it. So it will be held in Independence Square. We know we will not have that thick gathering because we're not going to allow that, because that too will be virtual. But the excitement remains. I think it will remain the same.
It remains the same?
Yes.
Right. Of course, and all of these independence activities are happening with the COVID-19 measures and protocols, of course, that would have been put in place. People have to wear their mask and try as much as possible to observe the protocols and so on. On the 11th, which is the Green Day, you have some activities there that have been organized by the Ministry of Health. You have the Sneaker Day competition and health station in Nevis. You have Fitness Friday and so on. So the focus is really on keeping fit. especially at this time, we're told of the COVID-19 pandemic, the importance of basically keeping fit and healthy. That is so important at this time, so that we are not vulnerable to the COVID-19. Is there something you wanted to say on that, Mr. Hodge? Not really. Okay. And then on the 12th, which is a Saturday, you have the Caribbean Wellness Walk. And of course, that is from the Cenotaph at 5:30 a.m. I think they walk to the Frigate Bay lawn from the Cenotaph in Bastille to the Frigate Bay.
It might be the roundabout near to the Central Bank.
Central Bank.
At least that was the route last year. I'm not sure if it is changed this year.
Okay.
So somebody from that committee can call in and give some further information. But personally, I would like to encourage persons to come out to the walk. I actually participated last year. It was quite a good walk. You know, yeah, and we have to stay healthy and fit. Right. So I would personally like to encourage persons to come out.
And it's also being held in Nevis.
Yes.
The wellness walk at Yatsman's Grill at 6 a.m. So the Caribbean Wellness Walk is also in Nevis. And then we have the Independence Church service. I think it's the first time that I'm knowing that the church service is going to be held at Warner Park.
Well, the first two, I think, were held at Warner Park. The year of independence.
Yes.
And then the year after, they were held at Warner Park, I remember. Yes. And then, of course, as the size of the crowd got less, then we moved into a church building. Yes. We have students participating. Each secondary school is to send at least 5 students, minimum 5 students, to the service. Again, transportation would be arranged to pick up our students on Sunday afternoon. Students are encouraged to wear their mask. They would be accompanied by one of the teachers. The spiritual aspect, the spiritual growth of our young people is very important. A lot of us today, the older ones, we stand on that spiritual grounding that we got from Sunday school and from church. So we don't want to leave the students out in this regard.
Right, so that's...
They have to wear their uniforms. They come in their official uniforms. Yes.
Okay, so that's the church service. And that's,
it's at 4...
It's at 4 p.m. at the Warner Park Cricket Stadium. And of course, again, all the COVID-19 protocols must be adhered to for that.
I don't think we have information yet as to who the preacher is and stuff like that, but
no,
that's not important. It doesn't matter who is delivering the word. We come out still and be part of the service.
Mr. Hodge, you know, sometimes, you know, some people say, well, oh, this is such a preacher ain't going nowhere. But really and truly, you're not going for the pastor.
Right.
You're not going for the priest. You're going to hear the word of God.
Absolutely.
But some people actually do not go to church when they hear so-and-so is preaching.
That is true.
On the 15th, which is, the 15th is a Tuesday, and that is the day when we are encouraged to wear black. You have Caribbean Wellness National Fruit Day. Again, the importance of eating fruits. And we have a lot of fruits here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have mangoes, we have all kinds of fruits. And that is emphasized, again, because of the health of our people.
Now, is that same day the Youth Parliament?
That is also the Youth Parliament, yes. SKNIS Youth Parliament at 9 a.m. Again, our young people will be on display because, of course, they're the future parliamentarians and
William,
they're the present.
Thank you very much.
The present.
Because in telling them they're the future, it means they must do nothing now and just wait until the future comes so they can activate. But they are the now.
You know, we say that you are correct.
They're
not the future, they are the now.
Yes.
They are the now, but we are molding them now so that they can have a better future.
Yes.
Is that put better?
Well put. Thank you.
Okay.
While we're talking about youth parliamentarians, I want to put on my PS hat now to congratulate a teacher. And I think that the teaching fraternity is proud that Dr. Joel Clark, one of our teachers from the Keon High School, has been selected as a member of parliament. I think it speaks well for the teaching fraternity, because a lot of times, you know, government as a whole look to teaching, you know, for persons to fill key positions in community. And so I want to congratulate Dr. Joel Clark. She's a very strong teacher at the Keon High School, works very hard, very professional. I had the good fortune to be her principal for 5 years when she was at Sandy Point High School. I remember herself and a young man, he's Dr. Kervin Liddy. They were either first or second in class every year until they graduated. And I'm certain that she's going to make a good contribution to our nation in this regard. So congratulations, Dr. Clark.
And then, of course, on the 16th, we have our National Heroes Day observance. And that will be at the National Heroes Park at 8 a.m. And again, that is something that people look forward to. It is early in the morning, but at the very same time, we come out to pay tribute and to really honor our national heroes. One that is alive, our first living national hero, the Right Excellent and the Right Honorable, Dr. Sir Kennedy Alphonse Simmons. And then we have the Right Excellent Sir Simeon Daniel. Then we have the Right Excellent Sir Paul Caleb Azariah Southwell. And then, of course, our first national hero, who is the Right Excellent, you know, Robert L. Bradshaw, of course. And then we have our next national hero, the Right Excellent Joseph Nathaniel France. So there are 5 national heroes that we have. 4 of them who are not with us, and 1 of them who is with us, who also was the former Prime Minister and the first Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Sir Dr. Kennedy Simmons. So that is on the 16th at 8 a.m. in the morning.
That's another event that schools participating, both primary and secondary school students. We expect at least 5 students from each school, 5 from each secondary, 5 from each primary school, including our private schools. Again, transportation would be provided, because these are the opportunities that are available for our young persons to learn from. You know, the history lessons, the social studies lessons are passed on through these events. And we need to commend the work of P.S. D'Souza in organizing this part of the program. The setting is really beautiful. You know, the Heroes Park. It's a place that our children have to be brought to, especially those from the rural areas. We have to bring them, other than in the National Heroes Day, to experience the National Heroes Park and the significance of it in our history. A lot of persons are talking about, well, we got to teach more history in schools. I agree, but the curriculum cannot take everything. And this is one way of teaching the local history. I need to say, however, that we are endeavoring, we are rewriting the national curriculum, and we are endeavoring to include what is called St. Kitts Nevis Studies. And by the time you finish high school, you should have taken that course based on the new arrangements. But getting our children to come to visit the Heroes Park when teachers can explain more about these national heroes is very important. You know, and as I reflect on the first national hero, he write excellent, Robert Bradshaw. He was a self-taught person from humble beginnings. And our children must know this, that they could aspire to that. Even if you drop out of school, you could still have the opportunity to get a good education, to go into something that can really uplift you and make you a contribution to community. I was at Teachers Training College when Mr. Bradshaw died. And the teachers were called upon to be ushers. And it was an opportunity that I got to see practically all of the leaders in the Caribbean at that time, which was a rare occasion that you would get to see leaders from the region. And I always remember that. If we weren't called upon to usher, I would not have had that experience. So these are the kind of things that build the patriotism in us.
You're correct. And independence, of course, is a time when, I mean, we're supposed to be displaying it all year long.
Yes.
But independence is a time when it is highlighted, of course, and our young people knowing the colors of the flag.
Of course.
What they mean, taking pride in our national symbols, the coat of arms, the flag, looking at our national heroes, and seeing, you know, what they would have done and how they can emulate them.
Yeah, like the author of our national anthem, the design of the flag. These things are important. Yeah, the local history.
The local history.
And as I mentioned this, the design of the flag, Mrs. Idris Lewis, she has a new name.
We can't call it.
This is somebody who contributes every year to school children. She has already, and she comes out to St. Kitts to distribute these supplies to school children. She's not able to come this year, but she has already sent those school bags and so on to be distributed to students. So, you know, she has gone, she has moved on to another country, but she has not forgotten her contribution to her native St. Kitts. And we want a lot more people to do this. You know, so I'm waiting to get the call to tell me when the things are here, and they will be distributed on her behalf to students right across the country.
And Kenrick Georges, the composer of the national anthem, who has passed away and so on. These are people who you will never forget.
Absolutely.
Because when you hear about the composer of the national anthem and so on, and the respect that we should have when the national anthem is being played.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes I see all kinds of things. I see the national anthem being played, people are on their phones and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Each respect.
Right. And so we encourage the singing of the national anthem in school, and we also have to encourage the proper stance, the way you stand when the national anthem is being sung. Mm-hmm. And we also have to get some of our children singing it correctly because they mix up some of the words. And I keep saying to principals, you have to do this rehearsal all the time. Make sure they're saying posterity and not prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
And that children stands, because that's wrong grammar.
That's correct. Children stand. You are so correct. But you know, when you do these things over and over again, they become a part of you.
Absolutely.
You know, but when we do things by rote, Mr. Hodge, sometimes we lose the meaning to, you know, because we're just doing it because it's rote.
Yes.
But we are not really reflecting on the meaning. It's like the Our Father.
Right.
Sometimes you say it, but you're not really reflecting on what you're really saying. It is something that you're doing by rote.
Yeah, I remember when the national anthem came first. My head teacher, Rosabel Warner, the late Rosabel Warner, very revered head teacher, we had to teach the national anthem like a poem so that children understand what those things in there meant. I don't know how much of this is done today. I mean, poetry is something that I love. I have a big love for poetry. You know, so we had to do that. You know, the children didn't just go up and sing it, but we had to ensure that they knew what the words meant and so on in the national anthem.
Right. So we move on to the 18th of September, which is a Friday, and that is the day when we're to wear red, something red. You have the school exhibition in Nevis. You have the Caribbean Wellness National Sneaker Day, and that is the day when you're encouraged to wear a sneaker to work. And basically meaning really that, you know, when do we wear sneakers? When we're exercising and so on, right? Yes?
I just realized as you spoke, it really touched me as Mr. Hodge spoke, because with the national anthem part, I'm going to go back a little because I had the privilege to lead the Defense Force Band in that year. So, you know, just like that, I was the first person in charge of rendering the national anthem. It really, like, almost bring tears to my eyes when he spoke like that, you know, because I remember that very well. I was a young band leader, just got in charge of the Defense Force Band. So it always touched me when I hear feel that.
And that brings us to, there's another Fitness Friday, which will be held in Nevis. And of course, underscoring the importance, again, of fitness. And then on the 19th, which is basically Independence Day, we are encouraged to wear all of the national colors. That now takes us to what you're very passionate about, Mr. Williams, that drill competition.
Yes.
Which will be held at the police training school, and that too will be virtual.
Yes, it will be. We all are so accustomed to what we call the National Parade Square in front of in the Bayfront, in front of Rams and courts. Everybody accustomed to that. I'm sorry this year in won't be there, but we are going to bring it to you, social media, to make sure that you still get that touch. And we have 8 teams already registered for it. Of course, you know, the police and the Defense Force, they'll be there. And as a matter of fact, the official, even though the individuals can practice on their own, we normally have 4 official practice sessions with the commander of the drill competition, and that is going to commence from tomorrow. So I'm looking for the same standard or maybe even a higher standard of competition. It's just that it's going to be virtual, it's going to be at the training school, and it'll give you a little taste too of the uniform body. We're going to miss
all of the participants. Maybe that is something you should say.
Okay. We have, of course, the police from St. Kitts, police from Nevis, and we're going to have a female police team this year. And we have the Defense Force Band, the A Company from the Defense Force, and of course we have to have the young people, the Cadet Corps, and then we're going to have the present champions, the Port Authority from St. Kitts. They are the present champions, so they will be there defending. And we're going to have the fire service. And I said 8 because we are still tossing up with the prison. And if there is a prison, there will be 9 teams.
Right.
So the competition is going to be keen. I have no doubt about that. And just like the Guard of Honor for the National Heroes Day, you get a little piece of the military, and you're going to get a little piece of the military for the drill competition. So even though we're not having any independence parade, we're still getting something with the discipline. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be on the 16th, on the 25th. On the 25th, and the time remains the same. We start at 5 p.m. It's just that it will be virtual.
Right. And our sister island in Nevis, they're going to have the Fitness Friday, HPU and U. And that will be virtual at 4:30 in Nevis. And then there's something there, Let Us Tip You, Nevis. we have to remember that we are one federation. St. Kitts and Nevis is the independence, of course, of us all. We are going to take a short break, and we will be back.
Was awarded MBE, Member of the Most Excellent Award of the British Empire for his contribution to Calypso and musical development. King Miko was formerly known as Mighty Miko, is regarded as one of our Nevis legendary Calypsonians with the second most Culturama crowns. He was first crowned Calypso King in 1978 and went on to win 8 more crowns. King Miko won in 1982, 85, 91, 94, 1997, 99, 2001, and 2004. Some of his most popular songs are Nation Building, Nevis Nice, Nevis Still Nice, Darkest Hour, My Country, In Times Like These, and Love We Festival, a collab with Delhi of Core Band. Tonight, the Ministry of Culture is pleased to recognize King Miko for his service in the area of music.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know when last King Miko really sang, but we're going to have the honor, the privilege tonight to have him sing. And he's going to sing a verse of Nevis Nice. And to nice it up, we're going to have his daughter, Lady Destiny, who's going to sing the second verse. So could we give it up now as we welcome King Miko, MBE, on stage?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good night. I think I'll let my daughter have the honor of doing the first verse. She's the younger one. My voice is not that good, so I'll try to do the second verse.
Your
Nice, nice. Wherever you go to rock the whole Caribbean, my little island name is mentioned as a land of peace and stability. And that
Okay, welcome back to Working for You. On the 4th of October, on the calendar of activities, there was a night of choir, which is virtual. Then on the 17th, the night of instrumental music. And on the 25th, the night of dance. However, that is being combined. And I would allow Ms. Marcia Jeffers to speak more to that. Ms. Jeffers.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. There is the first word in our theme, resilient, and the merger of these activities represents what it is to be resilient, because we were having some restrictions, the night of choirs, the night of instruments, and the night of dance in particular, because with the pandemic on our heels, we were not able to host any dance classes. You know, the choirs weren't meeting, and persons with instruments, particularly steel pan groups, they were having some challenges with actually meeting. There was no social gathering, and so we were not able to practice. This year in particular was very hard, and I would further say depressive for us dancers, because we didn't have any dance recitals. I think only one group, Rave, which is directed by Miss Theona Evans, would have had her dance recital, and that was because hers was early, January, February. And so because of these hindrances, we were not able to have the night of the choir and instrument and dance as is on the calendar. What we have been able to do, there is hope yet. Hope is in our flag, and it's independence. We are hoping to have a merger of the three. We're going to slate it for the 17th, as you would have said, of October, because we know September is just a small month, and we cannot have so many activities in the same month, so we have to spread abroad. So on the 17th of October at 7 p.m., that's a Saturday, so mark your calendars, we're going to have a night of the arts, performing arts in particular. So we have selected, or we will select 3 or 4 acts from those nights, the choirs, the instruments, and the dance, to compile a program for that night. And as other activities, because these fall under the subcommittees of education, our youth and our children are our focus. So what is going to happen, instead of the large groups that we would normally have, we're going to have some duets, we're going to have some quartets, small groups in particular, to do these performances. And I will tell you, because we are such a versatile and resilient and talented nation, this show is going to be exemplary. The chair of the night of choirs would have been Miss Sherman Lazar, the daughter of our former PS, God bless his soul, and she is excited about her event. I was the chair of the dance night, and we would have had 2 dance nights before, night of dance, and it was, off the chains. And so we really are looking forward to the night of the arts. Mr. Williams would have organized the night of music, where we had steel pan, and we are looking forward to the merger. It would not be as many persons, but it still be of some quality. And what we want to do this year is to include the Divisions. It's a federal, it's a national event, and we're going to invite dancers, instrumentalists, and choirs, or group selection from Nevis. And so we want the general public to look forward to this night, Saturday the 17th of October, not September. And the venue, of course, is going to be virtual. We don't have a venue, but we're going to be sending out, of course, it's a national event, so ZIZ Online is going to be on board. So look at all our pages, and we would be coming to your homes and edutaining you. I want to use that word because it's education and it's entertainment. So resilience with a merger of 3 performing acts, 3 nights of wonderful dance and singing and music. I hope you're coming, Mr. Williams.
Good. Marcia, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. Now we are going to go to the phone lines, and the numbers to call are 466-2666, that is 466-2666, 662-8674, 662-8674, 767-4765, 767-4765. And the overseas number is 1-239-645-4500. 1-239-645-4500. We await your calls. Sure. Go right ahead, Mr. Hodge.
Okay. While we wait for the calls to come in, I'll bring you up to date on the Elocution Contest. This is one of the activities that we do at the primary school. For the past 2 years, I think this is the 3rd year in a row, we have actually taken a calypso, one of our local calypso, and we use that we use the lyrics as the piece for the Elocution Contest. We actually did a piece from Star Shield, we did a piece from King Arrow, and now this year we have decided to do a piece from Crichton Pension. I think he's the former director of culture, Calypsonian. There's a piece that he did called El Dorado. And we think that speaks to our situation right now, because we can't leave to go any place, and yet we are doing well. And so this is something that we feel could be a good piece to educate our young people as to how we used to think in years gone by, and even within recent times. So we are doing an elimination contest with all 4 zones. This is the first time that we have a zone for the primary school, the private schools. But traditionally we have had the Basque zone, the East zone, and the West zone as primary schools in these zones. So all the eliminations take place the same afternoon, and then we select the top 2 from each zone to come to the finals. So we are working, as I said, with the private schools as a separate zone this year. By the end of today, we are going to send out the piece. My secretary is working on sending out the piece to the schools. It's the song called El Dorado by Crichton Pension. The final is going to be on the 30th, Wednesday the 30th of September, which is actually Caribbean Youth Day. Caribbean Youth Day falls on the 30th of September. So that's the final, the date for the finals. We'll have 2 persons from each zone taking part, and we hope to have a splendid event on that date.
Right. Director of Culture, Mr. Troy Mills, what can you tell us about the bringing together of the 3 events? They're really arts, the arts and entertainment.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams and Mr. Hodge, and good afternoon to the listeners and viewers. Culture really deals with the 4 pillars of performing arts, literary arts, culinary arts, and visual arts. And having these separate events as they were to have been combined, it just shows that they are cultural and they form nicely under that block. And like Marcy mentioned, it was necessary because of the COVID-19 and the minimum 3 feet distancing we have to observe for the physical distancing. And obviously, not to have too long a show, where one night would have gone for an hour and a half, 2 hours with several performers, there would be just 2, 3, maybe some duets, some quartets, some solos who will be performing. And COVID has taught the world that we need to operate differently, we need to do things differently, and really with just about the same effect. We are not supposed to realize that the standard has been dropped and you blame it on the COVID-19. And we are expecting to have a wonderful time. And the streaming, again, this is something new for us. You mentioned earlier the Prime Minister's lecture series, which is being streamed. And I think we are now getting accustomed to the streaming. I was involved in a CARICOM meeting online yesterday, and that is one of the things they would have spoken about, how effective it has been. And even with CARIFESTA, the thought of how do we perceive CARIFESTA happening in a virtual realm. I'm not so certain about that, because the energies about CARIFESTA could only be felt by the mingling, the cook-up, the potpourri of all the Caribbean cultures. So it's an event we're looking forward to, the Nights of the Arts, and who knows, maybe this may very well be, even when we return and we recover from COVID-19, the norm, we have that combined night. We were looking at a horn section this year for the music, because last 2 years we would have had steel band. And we have quite a lot of woodwind blowers around in school, the Defense Force camps, in churches even. Some of the churches, their music and their bands sound much better than the Small Axes and the New Vibes and things like that. I'm seeing Mr. Hodge nodding in agreement. So and like the Prime Minister has been saying, the young people, the talent, and we're going to be having some young persons. Of course, we always hear about youth and experience. So we're looking forward to that night. But going back, Mr. Williams, to the first night, the opening night for the Independence calendar, the Independence Fiesta, we were very honored, the Independence Committee, and really the minister, because King Miko, and we could never say enough of it, we have to put it in perspective. King Miko, the first time he has performed in 5 years was at that Independence Fiesta. The last time he said he performed was 2015 in London. So it's the first time he has performed in the Caribbean as well. But not only that, I think we take these little things for granted. Him, his daughter, singing in church, etc. He said that's the first time he and his daughter have performed. I know last year she sang a song in Carnival, My Father Sent Me. I think she placed in the female because he was having some challenges with the vocals. And really, the plan was to have her sing the song when we started speaking. That was the agreement. But it's only on the night he said he is going to do a verse. And we were really concerned. Could you really handle it? We didn't want anything. We didn't know the situation. But we were very honored and pleased. And it was really a proud moment to have him and his daughter sing. And really, a lot of the comments, and we would have had just on YouTube alone, like 2,600 views. A lot of the comments would have been about that, enjoying daughter, father. But quickly, if you allow me to go to, and I know we need to go to the phone lines, the two things, the cook-off and the drill competition. Ever since we have been having them, we have been having a lot of rain. When I say a lot of rain. We moved from the Friday to the Thursday because most of the persons, they do the barbecue on Friday, and they said it sort of interferes with the business. So I don't know if we're going to get a lot of rain tomorrow. It doesn't look so. I have to confirm the forecast. And likewise with the Independence drill. But everything is basically set. One up Independence Square tomorrow. We have 8 of the country's top chefs. The defending champion is Vincia Matthew out of the Molyneux region. We have a former champion, Rally Love of Newtown. He'll be in it as well as some newcomers. So we're very excited about it.
Okay. Now, Mr. Hodge, the Elocution Contest. What is really the rationale behind it? Because you hear about elocution and our young people and so on. What's the rationale behind that?
Yeah. Very good question, Mr. Williams. It's an opportunity to help our youngsters to develop what we call articulation and enunciation skills, where they can pronounce words clearly, they can chunk parts of a sentence together to bring out the clear meaning. It also helps to build their self-confidence. It helps to build their retention. Because in years gone by, when we did poem in school as students, we had to memorize these poems. Mm-hmm. And some of the long ago educators talk about poetry, multiplication tables, and spelling as 3 areas that help to build students' retention. And because we are choosing locally written pieces, it helps the children who are involved to get an understanding of what the Calypsonians were writing and singing about. Mm-hmm. You know, because for them this is somewhat different to what they hear today as calypsos. You know, the quality of some calypsos that we get today is not at the same level with writers like Crusader and Starshield and those guys who were in years gone by. And so these are some of the benefits why we decided to do that elocution contest, but especially the confidence building of our students and getting them to be articulate and be able to enunciate well. You know, there's ending letters and the T's and TH and those kind of things. Right, and you know that becomes so important, especially for public speaking. Right. It is. You know, there are a lot of people, they're educated, but they cannot speak publicly. They are a disaster in terms of their pronunciation of words and all of that sort of thing. You know, we tend to speak with, you know, the English Creole. We tend to say san. You never hear the D. Right. And ban. Yes. You never hear the D. And things like that. You don't hear the TH being pronounced and all of that sort of a thing. Right. And speaking is an art. It is.
Well, the thing about that, Mr. Williams, I agree with you and I agree with Mr. Hodge. But the element, the cultural element, our forefathers, remember we had to learn, we came from the environment of having our own language and trying to learn the language of the colonizers. And obviously we got some words wrong. And in other cases we would have tweeted the words so they couldn't understand. So then that's where our dialects and our creoles come in, which perhaps is something that Mr. Hodge might need to consider introducing in schools and further for the CXC level, because it's not going to go away. Yes, you have some persons who would always speak the Queen's English, prim and proper, but at the same time, there are a lot of us who, when the situation demands it, we'll rise to the occasion with the Queen's grammar, but when we step out the door, we go along to our twang. Yes, and that is the point. That is the point. So therefore, you have to understand both, and you have to understand in which context you use them. Exactly. Right. Yes. And you have to know how to switch. That's it. Exactly. Switch. Yes, how to switch. You know, so you can be talking to your peers, but when you have to talk to your teacher, you should know that you need to switch over. And respect. Yes. It shows respect. Yes. I remember in the first school I worked at in the US, a child came into my office. I was sharing an office with 2 American white ladies, and he came in and he said, they picked me and them said, "You're one Jamaican." He was from Jamaica. So I said to him, well, I'm not really from Jamaica, but I'm from that part of the world. Yes. And amazingly, when he was going to switch over to talk to the 2 white ladies, he'd talk in standard English and sound like an American. And he would do that back and forth. When he's talking to me, he give me the Caribbean dialect, and he talking to the white ladies, he sounds like an American. And that is where our children need to get. You can talk to I go back into my dialect all the time, especially when I get emotional about something. You know, but our students got to be able to make that switch. And I don't think social media is going to help that cause, Mr. Hodge. Because when I get certain WhatsApp messages, I have to call my children to interpret these things for me. IDK for I don't know. And they stop sending OK for Okay, no, they're sending K.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, actually, unfortunately, a lot of the children, the younger people, take that into examination and they speak that way.
Yeah.
So it's important that we actually have to let them know what
But we have
right
to
way.
teach them in terms of how language communicates, and
Station.
sometimes language can show respect, somebody in authority and so on. You don't send them the same thing you would send to
Exactly.
your peers and things like that.
Correct.
You know, you have to know what is formal,
Right.
what is a formal setting, and what is an informal setting. And if we're relating formally as a student to a teacher, then the language really should be formal.
Yes.
Within the classroom and within that professional relationship. Other people may say, well, I don't have a problem with it, but it is what we're basically teaching. Other people will say that they think that, you know, dialect should be used within the classroom.
There probably should be sessions for that. And Mozart, one of the great composers, classical composers, I recall him saying that it's good to know the rules or the laws so you could bend them. And it's the same thing, it is felt that as sportsmen and sportswomen, the more you know the laws, the better players you are. And it goes back to what Mr. Hodge is saying. You need to know the proper grammar, the proper English, and then you'll be able to tweet accordingly at your will.
Yeah. There has always been the debate in terms of the formal and the informal, and that the formal is better than the informal. All language is meant for communication. And I basically don't think it's a matter of one being better than the other. It is a matter of knowing to use them, and in what context basically to use them.
And the thing about all of this, to permit me, as the elocution contest you mentioned, poetry has gone basically beyond reciting and standing and delivering.
Right.
There's now the spoken word element of it. We're seeing poets performing with guitars, with drums, maybe a whole band. That expression using your body, your facial language, which we go through every day. Because your mother, all she has to do is put a certain look on your face, and you know that. You stand in a place and your mother or your father see you. All they got to do is watch your body, and you know you have to go home. So the use of the body, which is key. And might I add, that's part of the cultural element, the performances as well, using the body.
And that is what our independence celebrations really are about. It brings out who we are as a people.
Exactly.
Our language, you see, elocution, and our culture. And especially now where we have this new ministry of entrepreneurship and talent development, and what's the other one? Entertainment. Of course. These are things that really build our people, the development of our people. And so they're all a part of the independence calendar of activities. Who we are as a people, our culture, our language, our religion, which is there, the state service, you know, our health, you know, all of that. It is so important, the discipline and the order that is shown in the drill competition and the ceremonial parade, even though we are not having it this year and so on. But independence really brings out who we are as a people.
And as a nation.
And as a nation
as well.
The best of us.
And I must say, that's why I was most pleasantly surprised last year on Independence Day, the parade. There were so many people decked in the national shirt.
Yeah.
I don't know who designed it, but I love it, and it seems to be very, very popular. And of course, there are different versions.
And it's not that they were told to do it.
Exactly.
Like this year, we said we have the Patriotic Colors Day, but it is something they took upon themselves, which shows really maturity.
Exactly, and not only adults, babies.
Right.
You see children walking and babies in hand in that national way. And part of the maturity has to be the political element.
Of course.
Because you find yellow and red, they're part of the national flag. And there are days when we'll have to wear it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we cannot politicize
We cannot.
independence.
Everybody will need to wear the yellow on the designated and the red when the day is designated for
It's
that.
about nationhood.
Exactly.
It's not about partisan politics.
Exactly. It's not.
It's about the country, it's about nation building, it's about all of us.
Exactly. That unity, that togetherness.
The unity.
Because no one of us is greater than all of us.
That is correct. Now, I think we're out of...
Make a last call for anybody calling.
No one has called in. No one has called in. I suppose that we were very clear.
That's a nice shot.
Well, we do have to make some changes to the calendar, so people have to bear that in mind. So I would imagine that the calendar would be updated and put out again with the new dates. Yeah.
And again, that's why we must remind the public that tomorrow, the Independence Cookoff, which is a barbecue, all the foods are done barbecue style, cooked on a coal grill, not electric, not gas. And it happens at Independence Square tomorrow, starting at 9 o'clock, when we have the registration. And it goes down to about 1:30, we're thinking, because the judges will be there. Each chef will have to present an entire balanced meal on a 10-inch plate to the judges. And then they have little samples on a 5-inch plate with the judges. There are 3 judges, which the judges will taste and do their judgments accordingly. And it's really exciting.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we won't have enough to entertain members from the public who will be there.
And that, again, is an important part of our culture and who
Exactly.
we are, our food. The culinary arts, of course, food brings people together as well. But this time, of course, because of the pandemic, we cannot come together as we really would like. For example, the toast at at Camp Springfield and the Independence cocktail reception at the Governor General's house.
Correct.
Those things are off, you know. So unfortunately, we won't have them, but at the very same time, we have to understand the reason behind it, and at the very same time, still find ways to celebrate.
Indeed.
So once again...
Mr. Hodges said that the calendar is going on to some changes.
Yes, because, for example, those 3 events that we would have had to involve the schools, they are now combined into one. The night of dance, night of choir, and the night of instrumental music.
Correct.
We are now combining these 3 events, and we are calling it the night of arts.
Yeah, but a date has not been set.
Yes, a date has been set. It's actually the 17th of October. Saturday the 17th is going to be virtual. We have to determine where the studio audience will be. And Miss Lazar, who is in part of the choir piece, will be in touch with our secondary school principals. We're also going to have Mr. Massey is going to be in touch with those dance groups, and Mr. Williams will be in touch with the steel bands to get a few items there. So that is one thing. And then we are switching the elocution contest. The final was planned for the 27th, which is a Sunday. But we are moving that now to the 30th, which is Caribbean Youth Day. Yes, so there are a couple of changes that would take place.
Okay. So the calendar will be revised.
Would be revised.
And
yes.
resent.
And right.
Okay. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming. And I think we had quite a lively discussion on our 37th anniversary of independence, the calendar of activities. Of course, Mr. Hodge, you've been here several times, and so this is almost like, you know, child's play for you. And
I want to say that, you know, in one of our meetings, we actually started talking about things that are going to happen for the 40th anniversary. Because as we look around, it's going to be right here.
It's going to be right here.
Yes, so this is the 37th, we have 38, 39, and then a big one, 40.
Right, and for our 40th anniversary, please God that we don't, you know, the COVID-19 and so on will be past and behind us, you know, and we will be in recovery mode, of course. And so therefore, we'll be better able to come together as a people and so on, you know, for our independence celebrations. Mr. Mills, thank you very much. Of course, the Director of Culture. Of course, you know, you're always welcome on this program, and you always do a very good job of explaining and so on. We also thank Mr. Nigel Williams, who had to leave. He is the music specialist at the Department of Culture. We also thank Miss Marcia Jeffers. She is the dance specialist at the Department of Culture. Both of them had to leave. We thank them very much. We thank all of you for joining us for today's program. We had a very lively discussion on the Independence 37, the calendar of activities. Some of the things that you can expect, you can be a part of, others where you have to join virtually and so on. Nonetheless, we have to celebrate our independence. We have to own it. And so therefore, we thank God that at least we can still celebrate even at this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much for joining us today for our Working for You program. Next week, well, next week, no, because next week is a holiday. Next week is National Heroes Day observance. So until we meet again, thank you very much. Have a good time. I am Les Roy Williams.